Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of the Kashif Booth podcast. If you're new here, each week I sit down with a guest and we discuss their career so far, the highs, the lows, and what's next for them. Today's guest is Tam Paul-Worika, who is a writer from London and best known for his upcoming sci-fi thriller web series, Silverback. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
No, it's good to have you on the show. So tell us about Silverback, because I remember first seeing Silverback just trending. Like when I say trending, like everyone was talking about this upcoming web series. Like all on my timeline, you were promoting your crowdfunding campaign. So tell us about Silverback. How did you come up with it?
So Silverback is a six-part sci-fi thriller web series. It's all set in Hackney, which is where I'm from. It's about an ex-offender called Dee, played by Lauren Njoku. And so she's an ex-offender who returns home on the day of her younger brother's funeral. And she's the only person who suspects foul play in his death because she's the only person who knows about his secret life as this master vigilante called Silverback. And part of the series is about her following the clues to find a potential killer while also deciding whether she's the right person to potentially, take her brother's place as this local masked protector.
And how did you come up with this idea? Because it sounds brilliant, by the way, and so different from what you've seen on TV. So how did you come up with it?
I mean, I'm a massive comic book nerd. Like I have watched every single MCU film, but that's who hasn't these days. But it started all the way back. The '90s Spider-Man cartoon,
Nice.
X-Men cartoon.
Mm-hmm.
I was reading the comics then as well, and just as much as I enjoyed watching all of these properties, I always felt like there's clearly a space for not just like British superheroes, because you would see that on TV as well. Like you'd have things like the comedy My Hero with Ardolo Hansen. But I always felt that there's a space for British superheroes. There's definitely a space for Black British superheroes, and I've always wanted to kind of play with that space and have create a story that's not just about the spectacle of superheroes, but also has a very kind of like grounded and human element to it. And I really think that Silverback manages to do that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm very lucky to get to see a very early cut of Silverback. Thank you for sending it. And definitely how you described the pilot episode is definitely what I saw. And you can see so much potential in the web series as well. So I'm looking forward to seeing all the special effects what are added and the sound design and music and everything else what's gonna come with it. So how long did it take you to write the whole series? Because you wrote all of them, didn't you?
Yeah, so I wrote all six episodes. I actually did it as part of my master's degree at Raindance Film School. So I already felt like I had a pretty set time limit to make sure that I had it written within the timeline of my modules. So I think I spent more time writing the outlines than I did writing the scripts themselves. Because I felt like once I had the outlines just like laid out, it was so easy to just kind of like bang out the scripts because I knew exactly what I wanted to do with them. So I think that writing the outlines probably took me about a month to get like a first draft of the outline for all six episodes. And I wrote those as one whole story just so that I was sure that I had like a full arc from start to end. And then it was after that, after writing that outline within that 1 month, or within that 1 month probably, I started splitting it into the six episodes and making sure that each of those episodes also had that start to finish to make sure that there was a journey within each episode, while also being a journey overall. So I think including the outlines and the scripts probably took me like a solid 2 months to have drafts of the scripts that I was really happy with.
That's really good. So when was the deadline for you to submit all of that for the Rain Dance Film School course you was on?
Oh, it feels like it's so long ago now. Because I it was a 2 year part time course which I started in October 2019. and I think I started writing. I started writing the outline uh, probably around January 2020.
Oh, okay.
So it meant that I had a lot of the sort of initial lockdowns to like really kind of um, focus in on like getting a good version of the drafts.
And when you wrote it and you submitted it, got your grades or whatever, what inspired you to then want to make it?
I think that was always my end game
Oh, okay.
with the master's degree. I wasn't sure whether I was going to shoot all 6 episodes, but a couple of my course mentors that I spoke to, and I was like, I at the time I was saying, the focus of this course is to really work on writing. Producing is more not necessarily an afterthought, but producing is something that I only want to look at on a much smaller scale. But one of my mentors, who also created a web series, told me that if I don't do all 6 episodes in one go and people really respond well to that first episode, it's going to be tricky to get that team back together like months down the line. So it's probably better to have it all in your pocket in one, like, at the same time, instead of trying to wrangle everyone up again down the road.
Okay. I mean, that is good advice because unless you had a solid team who are your friends or people you work with constantly, then it would be very difficult for you to be able to get that team again. But at the same time, I always talk about Talia versus the show that I exec produced, and we put out the pilot with the team that we had made it with. It had a great reaction, and then it wasn't until like 7 months later we shot it,
Hmm.
and then it still was able to continue its success, and we still was able to get the same team. So I just think it depends on who your team are.
Yeah.
It really just depends on that, and if you've got the money to be able to hire that same people again. So with each episode, how long is it? Because the pilot I saw was 9 minutes. How long does it get longer in length because the more in depth it goes in with the story?
Each episode is probably about 10 minutes, no more than 10 minutes.
Okay, that's
Because
good.
I, even with the scripts, only episode 6 is more than 10 pages.
Okay.
So I imagine that episodes 1 to 5 will probably be around the 9 minute mark as well, and it's only the final episode that will kind of pass the 10 minute threshold.
That's good because you know what? When it comes to web series and short form content, I've done 4 web series, and so some of the episodes' length varies. The longest one I would say I've had ever released of an episode was about 13 minutes.
Hmm.
Yeah, and the rest have always been either 12 or 10 minutes and under, or sometimes even only 5 minutes because some people just have short attention span. Some people don't want to sit and watch a web series for that long.
Yeah.
But then some people do. Like I see some web series which are 30 minutes or 20-minute episodes and they have thousands of views. So it does depend on your audience as well. But what's really good about what you're going to do is that when people do come across your web series when it's all online, they can just watch it in an hour and
Yeah.
then go about their day and stuff like that. So that's really cool. So when it came to, okay, you've submitted it to Rain Dance Film School and the course you was doing and you got your grade and moved on. So how did you get to the point where you was like, okay, I'm ready to make this and I need some money? What was that kind of process like?
Um, Again, it was something that from the moment that I started writing it, I knew that I was writing something that I could not I could not afford to do out of my own pocket. Like before Silverback, every project that I'd been a part of, or every project that I had written or produced, had been self funded, and they were really really short. So I one of the last projects I did before Silverback, I produced a 7 minute short. Just after that, I wrote and directed a 15-second horror film.
Oh, wow.
Again, all of these were things that I paid for out of my own pocket,
Mm-hmm.
but I knew that, for something that was essentially going to culminate in 60 minutes of content, I knew that I wouldn't be able to do that out of my own pocket. So I just knew absolutely that it was something that I wanted to crowdfund for, because I think I had been part of one or two crowdfunding campaigns before, and they had never really taken off. So there was that concern.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew that I was going to have to like really kind of get a really good understanding of what makes a crowdfunding campaign successful, so that I can look into that and make sure that I have every single piece in place before I even announce that that is going to be my plan.
Yeah, I understand. And just like circling back just a bit, do you think your project Silverback will have any comparisons, or do you think people will think there's similarities, or did you get inspiration from the film Attack the Block? Because even though Attack the Block is more of a comedy, do you think people will draw comparisons to it?
I think I think that the only comparison that, or the major comparison that could be made, is just the fact that they are simply kind of black-led sci-fi projects, set on an estate.
Yeah.
And from my point of view, I think that's where the similarities end. But just the fact that it's almost annoying that the major frame of reference is a film that I really enjoy, but is written and directed by a white guy.
Yeah.
That the only frame of reference that you can make for or that most people can make for the last big black British sci-fi project is a film that's more than 10 years old now.
Yeah, didn't it come out in 2011, I think?
Around that time.
Yeah. So, but I mean, there was that show Dead Set on E4. I don't know if you remember that. I mean, that has some. It doesn't have the main similarities to Silverback, but that wasn't even like a black lit show, but just kind of like a similar vein of like a kind of lighthearted, but also has like adult themes as well and stuff like that. So yeah, but yeah, so you came to crowdfunding and you were thinking, okay, this is the time to kind of utilize that again. I understand the failure of crowdfunding because I'm trying to think. I think all of them have failed to a certain degree. It may have looked like they were online, but we had to do some putting in our own money to make sure that we reach some certain goals and targets and stuff like that. And yeah, I just wouldn't recommend it. I mean, because I've done it four times I've done it, and all been through Kickstarter.
Right.
And I did a whole episode on crowdfunding called "The Side Effects of Crowdfunding and Why I Would Never Do It Again," and specifically only because it's so difficult to be able to raise money. People just think, people who don't know anything about how the internet works and how it is to raise money, they'll just say, oh, you can just put it online and share it, and people will just go, no, people have to be interested in what you're sharing. Anyone can post anything online doesn't mean anyone's going to care about it. And there's so much of a strategy and plan that goes into making a successful crowdfunding campaign, and I think you were able to do that with Silverback. Would you say it was through like years of experience, through the failures, what got you to this point? Because you needed to raise, what was it? How much did you need to raise?
My goal was £12,000.
Okay. And you raised what, 13,000?
Just over 13,000.
Yeah, so that's a success. Like, that's amazing. And I know that you didn't use Kickstarter. No. You used the Greenlit Fund, correct? Yeah. I would advise anybody who does want to crowdfund a project, use Greenlit Fund, use GoFundMe, use Indiegogo, any platform where you still get your money. Because Kickstarter has very strict rules. You have to reach your full target and you have to go over that, because a lot of people don't speak about that, how even if, let's say, I need to raise £6,000 and I reach £6,000, you're like, yeah, amazing. No, Kickstarter are going to take like 10% of that earning, so you have to go over that just to get the actual money that you need. And with Kickstarter, you only have 30 days to do it, and if you don't raise all of it, it's just a wrap. But with Greenlit Fund, within the time period you put it, because you can make it as long as you want, it's like 2 months, I think it can go up to the whole campaign.
Right? I think they're pretty flexible with their lengths. That's one good thing about Greenlit, is that they have a very present team.
Okay.
Who will actually, talk to you and contact you and ask how's the campaign going. They'll give you the resources that you need to reach out to people as well. When you mentioned, Kickstarter and how it's not good because you need to reach your goal.
Mm-hmm.
That's a tricky thing because sometimes having that kind of all or nothing mindset,
Mm-hmm.
um, as the campaigner, it kind of helps you kind of like keep yourself motivated because you're thinking, if we don't hit this target, we get nothing. We need to really push ourselves to get this
Mm-hmm.
made.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of people fail at that.
Yeah.
And then even from like the observer's point of view, you kind of want to target your marketing to make them aware that if you don't if you don't give us money, we will get no money and we will not be able to make this amazing project. So I think that's one way that the kind of Kickstarter all or nothing model works. If you are if you're motivated enough to actually kind of stay active enough to actually reach that goal.
I think that's a good point, but I just think it's so easier said than done. Because before I even decided to launch my last crowdfunding campaign for my series Newlyweds, I did a lot of studying and really looking at old campaigns and reading books and really trying to understand how you can actually do it. And there's so much what goes into it. It's like you need to build anticipation for your project. You need to be reaching out to people who aren't within your network as well. So you have to target specific audiences who will get it and understand it and why they would be interested to even donate to your campaign. And it is so much what goes into that. And so it needs to be like at least a couple months of anticipation so that people know that this is the launch date. And then the way how a good strategy and plan works is that you once you've built anticipation and your campaign launches, you're supposed to reach a goal or at least 50% of that in the first 3 days of your campaign going live. So if you don't have that, then momentum is just gonna dip. And I had that for mine, like within the first, I think, 2 hours it was out. No, I think an hour we raised like 300, and then we was working towards 1,000 within a week. And I was like, yeah, we're gonna do it. And then in the middle, like of the campaign, it was just crickets, dead. It didn't matter how much times I was promoting it or pushing out there and stuff. It was just flat. Like nobody was really paying attention to it. So I think it definitely depends on who you've got as a team, because I was just by myself, and a lot of the other projects I did, it was just me and some other person, so we were just really trying to push it up. If you have a whole team of people who are really pushing it in everyone's different networks and then beyond your own personal networks, I think that's how it can work. But that was just me. So
I think having a team definitely helps. I don't think I know for sure that I wouldn't have reached my goal if I didn't have people who are also out there sort of actively promoting the campaign, actively reaching out to their contacts as well. So even my co-producer DB, he was amazing because he was very aware of how introverted I am and how initially how unwilling I would be to reach out to people like, hey, person I haven't spoken to for 6 months, how you doing? By the way, I would like your money. But he was very ready and willing to call people up and have a little catch up at first, just to make it seem that you genuinely want to catch up with these people because they are your contacts, but using that catch up as an opportunity to promote the campaign. And that's something that I slowly got myself used to as well. Although, again, introverted, I did it via email. But it was actually really nice to even just like go through all the business cards that I've been given over the years and just be like, where did I meet them? Oh yeah, it was at this networking thing, and be like, hey, how are you? I haven't spoken to you since this networking thing this many years ago. Hope you're doing well. And you're actively trying to remember what it was they do, what it is you spoke about, so that you can add that personal touch to those emails, so that it doesn't just feel like it's a cold call.
Yeah.
That like even there's a few people again that I reached out to that I'm actively still talking to now, even though I hadn't spoken to them since that networking thing. And it was actually really refreshing to find the confidence to do that. And there were even like friends and like childhood friends that some of them that I messaged, some of them were just aware of the campaign. Like I have a friend from primary school who I haven't seen since the last day of primary school. She's a doctor now, and she gave £250.
Wow.
And I messaged her on Instagram, just being like, "Wow, thank you." And she told me that the money that she gave was basically from working overtime during the pandemic, and she said that the project just seemed like such a good idea that she was happy to, you know, part with her hard-earned money. You know, working in a COVID ward while I'm just
Hmm.
sitting here, just like trying to make TV.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
it
yeah.
was it was just really like it was really kind of refreshing,
Hmm.
just like to have that kind of support.
No, that's really good to hear, honestly, because also having such a good producer on board, like you guys, he had a strategy, and that's what I was saying, that he had the plan as to plan of action of what he wanted to do and how he was going to target certain people so that you could get the money that you needed. And that's what it's about. Once you have somebody who's really clued up and has been and can be able to get you to your goal, that's what you need. And that's what I was saying about a team as well, because it was just me emailing everybody, strategizing and trying to promote this. Everybody else was just like shared it once on the
Mm,
and that was it. And it's just like, no, we need to be, it needs to be more than just one share. You had to just really go in with with the promotion to make sure that it actually gets to the right eyes, because you want to make sure, like I said, go beyond your network. And that's what I think happened with Silverback, because as I said, when I saw it, it was just everywhere. Every time I was on Twitter or Instagram, like social media, everyone was talking about it because the premise was really great and people just really wanted to see this get made.
mm.
And yeah, and then I saw Levi Aluede, who was on my podcast a few weeks ago. He directed one of the episodes as well,
Yeah, he
and I saw
directs
him.
episode two.
Oh, okay. And yeah, and I saw him promoting it as well. So I remember I was like, yeah, this looks amazing. So I donated as well and stuff like that. So what was the length of the crowdfunding campaign? Because as I said, Kickstarter is 30 days, and then Greenlit Fund can be up to, I think, 2 months. So how long was
Yeah.
yours for?
So I will admit I was a little bit cheeky. So originally I had 30 days set.
Okay.
And I think similar to you, the first week or two, it was very, very slow. So even in that first week, I was getting responses, but I wasn't getting the funding. But I think midway through, I think maybe like 15 days in, that's when the ball was really starting to get rolling. But I felt like we weren't gonna reach the goal in that time. So I asked if we could just add a few more days. So it went from 30 days to 40 days,
Okay.
and and I'm really glad I did that, because it was in that final week where, um, even though there were eyes on the campaign, it was then that people started to really kind of
Yeah.
like put the money in.
Mm-hmm.
And even people that I had spoken to at the start of the campaign, I sent them like gentle reminder emails
Mm-hmm.
being like,
Mm-hmm.
"Hey, we've only got 2 weeks left. You said that you might put something in. Like, oh, by the way, is it payday now? Why don't you?" And again, a lot of people would then like put their eyes back onto the campaign,
Yeah.
and I think, yeah, those extra 10 days were when the ball really started gaining momentum. And even a friend from my MA put in 2.5 grand.
Wow.
And again, that was like really astounding.
Mm-hmm.
And I just like couldn't believe that she would be willing to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And it just showed that she had so much confidence
Yeah.
in the project, and was so happy with how it had been presented in the campaign as well, that she was willing to give that much. And she also reached out to her network as well, her friends.
Wow.
And within 24 hours, we got another $2,500
Wow.
donation. So now the two of them are, it's like one of the rewards we were given was executive producer credit. So the two of them are for sure
Yeah, yeah,
executive
yeah.
producers. And I think even those two donations, I kind of, I really sold the fact that, hey, look, we just gave away two of our second to highest rewards. Why don't you put something in as well? And that was even a point where, like my closest friends were like, oh, okay, this is definitely happening. We should put something in. So that's when they put in their small or big amounts. And yeah, I think, the sudden spike really kind of grabbed people's attention in those last 10
Yeah, I
days.
remember seeing that actually a lot. Like, it
Mm,
was just out of nowhere. I was just a spike, and I was like, "Wow, this is doing so well." So
yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then I think it was 2 days before the end of the campaign that we reached our goal.
Wow.
So I tried adding a stretch goal. I moved it to 15 grand. And we made it to 13, just over 13, which was good. And I wish that, I almost wish that I added more days again just to see how far we could push it. But I was already just like so pleased with the
Yeah.
fact that, we got 111% of what we needed.
Yeah. That's so it honestly is great to hear because there's so many stories of failure when it comes to
Mm,
crowdfunding campaigns, and like you mentioned before about having to self-fund, and I think every independent filmmaker listening can relate to that because self-funding is the only way we've been able to make our projects, and you
mm,
need some sort of body of work to try and succeed in this industry. So to hear that is great, and what you were saying again is just what I saw when I did loads of research and did loads of studying when it came to crowdfunding campaigns, because towards the end, if you don't reach it in the first few days of your goal, and then it kind of, because it's expected in the middle of your campaign month or whatever, how long it is, that it is quite slow in the middle, but
mm,
then you kind of can release more rewards, like what you said about how when you got those 2.5 grand donations, and then you were saying, "Oh, look, this is what's happened now. We're going away." That does spike people's interest again
mm.
if you release more interest about rewards and stuff, and that's what you did, and it works. So, guys, it does work. And the thing is that you made a good point. You raised a good point of where you were saying like how they just really liked the idea, like somebody from your film's course. And that happened to me as well, like somebody who I barely knew, but they just saw the campaign and they loved the idea. They donated like £200, and I was like, I don't even know you. I was so shocked and like, wow. And then there was loads of drama with what happened with my web series, but I made her an exec producer because she was the highest donator at that time. And
Okay.
also the reward that she had purchased, I wasn't going to do anymore. It was going to be a screening, but I just was like, I'm not going to do it anymore. So you can have an exec producer credit. And for that to ignite your friends or your close friends to know, oh, okay, this is going somewhere. It's like, are you really good friends though? Because like you see me grinding and hustling, and you're not only now you want to support. I mean, I had some of that with my like best friends or really close friends. Like some of them forgot. I'm using air
Yeah.
quotes, and I don't care if they're listening. And some didn't even donate at all. And then I was just like, okay, because I remember feeling just so angry and upset, like have all this network of people and have all these alleged good friends, and nobody was support. And then they know how much like I had put into all my projects. I had done I had done 2 web series and 3 seasons in total, and that was like 20 grand that cost.
Right.
and I did not have 20 grand just plop into my pocket. Like that was all my money. So you know how hard I've worked. So I thought you would want to, help me go over a bang. So yeah, it was definitely just a roller coaster of emotions as well, because that's what happens with a crowdfunding campaign, because you're expecting your family, your friends, people to really support you, and they don't. But thankfully that didn't happen to you, because again, it was people outside of your network who really believed in your project, and those are the audiences, the people you need to get.
Yeah.
So
I mean I think that's one annoying thing about crowdfunding is that there are various types of support.
yeah.
Like the type of support that is ideal is financial. Like that's the point of the entire campaign.
Yeah.
But then you also get that kind of moral support. People just saying, that looks great, good luck.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I got a lot of that, but at the same time it was all still getting eyes on the project.
Yeah.
And it was, even on Facebook, I was posting every single day about the campaign. I had different videos or posts and images just that I was like posting on the series' like social media,
Yeah.
and then like reposting onto mine. So I was always making sure that there were eyes on it, and I was making sure that it was all public as well. So on Facebook, when someone comments on your video or something, it goes out to all of their friends saying,
Yeah.
this person just commented on this person you don't know's
Yeah. Yeah.
post.
Yeah. Exactly.
So even if your own Facebook friends weren't they're showing interest by literally just commenting
Oh, liking.
but yeah, and then that like comment itself is additional promotion, because now all of their friends are going to see it.
Yeah.
So that's why I wasn't too bothered by the fact that they're saying good luck, but they're not putting any money in, because I was still getting attention on it.
Yeah. Like I said, it was just certain people I was like, I'm giving you the side eye. But then at the same time, it's like, what's a £5 isn't gonna hurt, a £10 isn't gonna hurt. But at the same time, everyone's has the right to do whatever they want to do. They can or don't have to donate to your campaign, and that's something you have to kind of just accept that, and that's what it is. But in your case, it was able to be successful, which was amazing. So you was able to raise the money, and then so when was the deadline for you and your producer? Because I saw that once you did raise the fund, you actually went to shoot it quite quickly. So when you raised the money, how quickly did you have to go into pre-production, or were you in pre-production before and then to go shoot?
So we were already in pre-production at the time. So we had all of our cast. We had because we had a different director for each episode. We had the directors for episodes 1, 2, and 3 confirmed at the time, and confirmed the final 3 during the campaign. Because as the campaign started, we didn't even at that point we didn't even know how many episodes we would actually be able to shoot.
Okay.
So it was almost like as the pot grew, we knew it's like, okay, we can definitely do episode 2, we can definitely do episode 3, we can definitely do episode 4. Let's get a director for episode 4. So that was kind of our meter on how far we could go with pre-production. So once the campaign ended, we had all of our directors, we had all of our cast, we had started to find the rest of the crew as well. And I think, again, all of this was within the timeline of my master's.
Wow.
I had a very set deadline for when I would have to like show a very early cut of the first 2 episodes, because that was the goal that I had set for myself. That is what I had said at the start of the course. It's like, the products you're going to see at the end of this course, you're going to see episode 1 and you might see episode 2. And so I think from the end of the campaign to the first day of shooting, we started shooting July last year. The campaign ended in May. So that gave us just about 2 months to really push through rehearsals, find all the locations, find all the crew, and yeah, we just about managed to find everything before we started shooting.
So how long was the shooting process?
It was 15 days
Oh, okay.
over
Wow.
over 3 weeks. Again, it was my most ambitious um production period to date.
Mhm.
And then considering again, like the last thing I did was a 15-second horror, which was like a 6-hour shoot
Yeah.
in a friend's flat. So this was very much a step up
Mhm.
from that. Um, but yeah, so it was 15 days, 8 locations.
Wow.
Um, for 6 episodes with 6 different directors.
Mhm.
Had to organize the schedule to make sure that there weren't too many directors in each day. So I kind of limited myself to no more than 2 directors each day, and to make sure that in the morning we would do all the scenes from one particular episode,
Mhm.
so that the second director can come in like after lunch.
Okay.
The first director can join us for lunch and leave. Then the second director shoots in the evening. Um, I think it was only on the final day. I think the final day of the proper shoot and the pickup day was when we needed pretty much all of the directors in the
Wow.
locations that we were shooting in.
Wow. That must have been hectic.
But at the same time it was very nice to like actually see them all there
Yeah, yeah,
together.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think what was really good is that there was no kind of like clashes of personality
Great,
with
great.
between the directors.
Mhm.
Like I tried to keep them all in contact with each other to make sure that there was still continuity
Mhm.
between the continuity was kept between the episodes, but at the
Mhm.
same time I kind of tried to let them like kind of gave them creative freedom with what they could do with their episode.
Mhm.
We had one director of photography, which meant that the visual continuity was kind of maintained throughout the series.
Okay.
So that has really helped.
That's really good. So yeah, so wrapped in. So you wrapped. Well, you started shooting and then wrapped in July as well, and then went into post production. So how's that going? Because we want to see
I know,
when's it
I
coming
know.
out.
That has been the big question for the past 12 months. When are we gonna see something? I think it was post production was a weird experience, for me at least, because I think I was very much used to just editing it myself.
Right. Okay.
But one of the points of uh, just producing or writing and producing the series was to kind of introduce more of that of the collaborative nature of filmmaking, basically, and that was kind of the basis of my master's degree as well. Is that that's one reason why I had a different director for each episode, so that I could get a really good understanding of what the dynamic can be like between a director and a writer producer. Like, how much creative freedom do you give to the director when it's your project,
Yeah.
basically, because
Yeah.
it's very different between TV and film. Um, but so we brought in an editor to do a cut of episodes 1 and 2, which were going to be submitted for my masters, and she did a good job, but she also had other work to do, so it was very much like an afterthought for her. And she managed to produce a cut which clearly followed the script, but it wasn't the best version of what I knew those 2 episodes could be. So I think only me, the directors, and my co-producers have seen that initial cut, and the
Okay.
people who watched it to give me my grade.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so after that, me and my co-producer spent quite a lot of time trying to find a new editor,
Okay.
and I don't know why it took so long, but we only really managed to find them at like 2 or 3 months ago.
Oh, wow.
So we've been working through the post production process with the editor since then. Just recently pitched locked episode 1.
Mhm.
Um, we are so close to having episode 2 ready,
Good.
and the rest of the series we're hoping to have picture locked by the end of September,
Okay.
and then we've got sound design and a score and all
Great.
of
And all
those
that.
elements
Okay.
that we're
Yeah.
hoping to
Yeah.
have set by the end of the year.
Okay.
And I know my co-producer does not want me to say this, but
Okay.
but,
Exclusive.
but like I am staying confident that we'll be able to, like, if the series doesn't go online straight away because we want to have the festival run, that we will have some kind of screening by the end of this year.
Oh, okay.
So I'm saying that now.
Well, am I invited?
Of course, you donated. You're invited.
Okay, good.
And so, yeah, I'm sure my co-producer isn't happy that I've said that, because now
You've got something to work towards.
Yeah, because now it's law. I've said it. The showrunner has spoken.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's the plan.
Okay. Well, I mean, see, that's the thing with production, and you just never know where it's gonna go and what's gonna happen, and you need to find somebody who's going to understand your vision, and that is right from the top right to the bottom of the whole project. So you need to find an editor who's gonna be able to visually get it and aesthetically understand what you're looking for and what you're going after, because I always say editing is a form of directing as well, so you need to get somebody who understands what you want. You know, and clearly you didn't have that with the first editor, and now you found somebody who did, so you'd rather take that time to find somebody, even if it does take ages. It is what it is, as long as it's great, because you spent so much time and effort into this, and especially because of the success of your crowdfunding campaign, there's a lot of anticipation, so people want to see it. And so from what I've seen, I'm like, okay, I see the potential already, so once it's done, people are really gonna enjoy this, and you don't know where this could go. And then you've got to also sort out, like you said, your film festival strategy. That's a whole different thing as well, because you got a budget for that as well. These are non-refundable payments, okay? And you're probably gonna spend like thousands of pounds trying to get them into like the biggest festivals that there is, you know, because it has potential to do that, and you want it to go far as well. So yeah, so that sounds good. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing it. Hope by the end of the year. By the end of the year, it is August now, guys. So you know, December, yeah. So if not, at least the top of the year, you know, at least the top of the year. So that's fine. So yeah, so I mean, I think you could put it online and go with the film festival strategy, because nowadays, from what I've seen, especially with web series and online content, they don't need premiere status.
Yeah, they don't need it.
Yeah, only more so for like feature films. That's what I've noticed, because a lot of the rules, I think, maybe changed during COVID and stuff like that, because everything was just online. The film festivals, I think a lot of them have just been less strict, but the bigger festivals really do want that exclusivity when it comes to features. So I think you could put it online and then still do it at the same time. So yeah, so that's cool. So yeah, well, I mean, good luck with it all, you know, and yeah, we'll keep the faith. So regardless of that, what else have you got coming up? What else have you been working on?
So when I have the time, I have been working on other scripts as well. I think especially with Silverback, it's been a lot of focus more on production and producing at the moment. So I'm kind of trying to find some time to return back to writing. So I wrote a short a couple of months ago when I had a bit of downtime, and I know that it's a project that it's the sort of story that isn't going to get BFI funding.
Okay.
Because it's like I already said that I love, you know, comic books. I love superheroes. I'm also a massive fan of, you know, like action films and kung fu films. And
nice. Okay.
I randomly had the idea for a short film that's like it's kind of got the same energy as a John Wick film, but just like much smaller stakes. So it's an action comedy, and I know it's the sort of thing that is like I imagine that a black-led action film is not the sort of thing that certain film funders are looking at.
Not really, no.
So I know that's the sort of thing that I need to find the right people, not just to get involved in it, but the right people who can see the potential in it and can help get it made.
Well, I think after for Silverback, when that comes out, I think you'll be able to, because you'll have a niche, I would say, like in terms of this type of black stories you want to tell, you know, and especially because Rap Man has his show, which is a British superhero show, what's going to be on Netflix, you know, that's going to open loads of other doors as well. That sounds good. I'm looking forward to seeing that as well whenever that comes out, because you still got Silverback to do. So where can people find you and say like up to dated with Silverback and stuff like that?
Silverback is all over social media. We are on Instagram at Silverback_WS, on Facebook and Twitter at SilverbackWS, or you can follow me directly at Tamdiman, TAMDIMAN.
Amazing. Well, thanks again for coming on the show. It was great having you discuss about Silverback and crowdfunding and getting tips and understanding how you was able to pull off such a great campaign. So thanks guys for listening. You can follow me all on my usual socials. You know them, they're all long. Stay tuned for new episodes coming soon.